Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Super Duper Homebrew Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
How long can beer stay in primary fermentation? Our favorite yeast strains, preventing fruit flies, and what to do if beer shoots into my airlock. This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 253. And welcome to the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question you would like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or now you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. I am your host, Joshua Stubing. Today I'm joined by the Director of Operations at cmbecker.com. He just disappeared, and all I see is Zum Schlussel in the background, Mr. James Carlson, as well as the President and Chief Keg Washer of kegconnection.com, Mr. Todd Burns over there. Gentlemen, how are y'all doing?
Hello.
Oh, there's James back from Schlussel.
Hey. He was probably getting a beer, to be fair.
I wish.
He ran inside just now to get an alt.
Ran inside Schlussel. I remember the first time Todd took me to Germany, and you weren't on that trip. We were going to meet. We were doing photography stuff at the headquarters and talking about things. And he was like, "Oh, the first day we were there, stand in front of Schlussel. I'm going to take a video. It's going to be so funny. It'll be like, hey James, you're not here." And then I was like, that's just mean. And then the next time y'all went without me, he sends me like 100 videos like that. Oh, sorry, Josh, you're not here.
You know, I'm ready for you to go back. I think we got to make that a point to take Josh back. Let me go see if the website's done what he's supposed to be working on.
Yeah, you weren't expecting him not to bring that up, right?
I should. Well, I zinged him.
Still not done. It looks like you're not going.
I zinged him and he zinged me back. That's not fun. That's not how this is supposed to work. Welcome, friends, to the Homebrew Happy Hour. We are so glad you're joining us for another week of fun. I wanted to start the show off to clear the air. I say clear the air. I thought last week's episode with Chris and Olin, we were pretty clear on what was going on, Todd, but we got some feedback from people that from the benign of like, can you help me understand? I don't quite understand what this means for recipes for Chub Club, all the way to the, oh my God, you're sold completely and you're getting out of beer. What are you going to do, Josh? And like they're starting to GoFundMe for my kids. Not quite that far, but they really should. If you know me and how terrible I am with my home finances, guys, y'all should do a GoFundMe for my kids. They're not going to college. But anyway, my wife.
Hey, I got a 16-year-old daughter that's driving. So.
Oh, that's right. You do. Oh, yeah. But anyway, so Todd, let's start it with you. Let's clear the air. First off, Chub Club recipes, receiving tiers, they're not going anywhere.
Nope, not going anywhere. So and by the way, we sold the URL homebrewsupply.com to More Beer. There were even some comments like, I can't believe you sold out to this big, corporation. Hey, More Beer's been in business for 25 years as a family-owned business.
Pretty
Great
cool.
guys there. I've known them forever. They're a solid company, and they're not some big corporation. It's still owned by the same family, the same people that started it originally. So I don't think you can get any more organic than that when it comes to a business. I mean, and again, they're really good people. I don't know if they're going to be doing our recipes in the future. We are going to talk to them about that, but we have not done that so far. But I do know that we are prepared already to send next month's recipes out. We've already got the ingredients and everything that we need to do that. And if we need to continue to do that, we can certainly do that. So don't worry about the recipes. And hey, more beer, good company. I can also tell you that they carry C.M. Becker products as well. They've always been a big supporter of
great Becker. Customer.
Yeah. So good guys. They're not some big evil corporation, I can promise you.
Now, I will say, though, I always get jealous because Olin specifically is in always so much better physical shape than I am. And when we see them at HomebrewCon, I get kind of jealous because he walks around. He has a great head of hair.
Doesn't he?
He has a great head of hair. It's I don't even want to pull the hat off.
Well, you and me both.
Not everybody can have the physical condition of me and Olin. So.
Don't insult him like that. I forgot what joke I made when we weren't recording last week. Also, I realized, too, not everyone's Todd, and not everyone has Todd's sense of humor. I made some joke, and Olin was like, interesting. I did want to give a quick shout out. There was a couple of people at Yakima Valley Hops that helped us out to get these kits out this week. Ariel and Caitlin really went the extra mile. We were out of a certain type of hop and nobody had it. They had it, and we had it in 2 days. So I want to give them a shout. Great customer service. Yeah. And also, too, on the note of Trub Club and all that not going anywhere, guys, Keg Connection is not going anywhere. KegConnection.com is still fully functioning and operating and serving your draft beer equipment needs or draft equipment needs, keg kits, all that stuff. It's just Todd exiting the retail side of homebrewing ingredients and recipes and equipment.
So, and there's a very important reason for that. We were losing money every month selling ingredients and homebrewing equipment, and we quite frankly, our specialty has always been draft beer and draft beer equipment. Mm-hmm. CM Becker is draft, Keg Connections draft. Right now, we do have a lot of ingredients, and we have a lot of fresh yeast and everything on Keg Connection. We're definitely going to be doing some sort of a sell on that soon, Josh, and we'll give people a heads up from the club before we launch that. I'm sure. Right,
yeah, we are exactly. That's the plan. But
and if we don't, it's Josh's fault because you just heard me.
Well, funny enough, you say that. Some people are already putting it 2 and 2 together, and I've seen more recipes come through the last few days on Keg Connection. Usually, Homebrew Supply was our bread and butter to get recipes, and Keg Connection was always equipment. And after last week's episode, I'm like, that's a lot more recipes being ordered right now on Keg Connection. So.
Well, we already had a really good sale going on. Yes. I think that ended.
It ended last weekend. No, it did. It ended. Okay. It ended after this past weekend. But people are still placing orders all week this week, and as long as it is in stock on the site, you can order it.
Absolutely.
And then even if Todd's made sure he had to order some special things for some things. Once we're out, though, we're out, and that'll be it. I am working on putting the PDFs of the recipe instruction sheets on homebrewhappyhour.com. That'll be a project of mine in the future, so people can get some of their favorite recipes and get the ingredients from your favorite supplier or local shop or more beer or whomever you choose and still brew our favorite recipes. Because someone did ask me, oh my God, what are y'all gonna do about brewing? I was like, Todd and James of all people are not stopping brewing.
No, absolutely not.
That's not even an option for these two. And same with me and my dad.
I'm actually hoarding kegs right now because opening weekend of deer season in Texas, which is a national nation of Texas holiday, and then the following week is my wife's big birthday bash. So we're going to have, I believe, 9 beers on tap. It looks like right now.
That is incredible. With one of them being the
y'all are not all invited. I hope I didn't give anybody the impression.
Well,
I could just see about 100 Homebrew Happy Hour listeners showing up to my wife's party.
I'm bringing my keg of Imperial Coffee Stout, the Founders clone, next weekend because I'm coming up to be the jester, providing some music entertainment for opening weekend.
Cool.
And the great thing about that beer is it's not going to get all drunk then, so it'll be still on tap when we have the party. Go
ahead.
And I have to have confession. I told James this yesterday. I'm not sure I'm going to have enough Kolsch to share on this batch, but I promise you, Josh, I know I'm going to owe you if I don't have beer left over.
Whoa, no.
Wait. I promise you, as soon as I get back, I'm going to brew another batch of Kolsch.
But the whole reason I needed the batch was because we're having a party at my dad's house.
You are? When?
Yeah, the weekend after Liz's party.
We'll figure that out. James, it looks like
we got to brew a batch right now.
I may have to brew another batch and give you 2 kegs of beer next time.
Oh, no, you can give mine to Josh. He'll need it.
No, what? Oh, Todd, how dare you? And I just brewed a batch of Kolsch for Keith, and now I'm gonna have to tell him, "Hey, man, sorry, this is mine now."
No, we'll make sure we get beer for your party. Okay.
The cool thing about Kolsch, it doesn't take very long to get ready. So, if you wanted to, we could brew a batch here tomorrow.
Yeah,
and
let's do that.
You really could, and then turn it around quick enough where I can take it when I come up for the party. Yeah,
that's an awesome idea.
Yeah, I've got to empty the spike conical's empty. In fact, we've got a listener coming in tomorrow, Coy from Midland. Oh, wow. He's coming by to pick up a kit, and I told him we were going to be kegging the
the Vienna lager.
Yes,
the Vienna,
and he was excited to see that. So
good. Well, we're brewing. We're going to brew. Hopefully, I'll have more time. I can brew more now. What about that idea?
There you go.
That is true. Yeah. And it is, like Todd had, when we were doing the behind the scenes, not on a podcast talking, he was talking, I think I used the word spin, but the reality is, I was using that because it's a word I'm used to. It's not a spin at all. This is a positive thing. What is happening? We are happy to be working with More Beer and exiting, letting them take over on the ingredient side. They like Todd said, they bought the domain, and then Todd is exiting the ingredients and recipe side. And we're happy to get back to our roots. The first, 5 years that I worked for you, Todd, or maybe even 7 years, you were only draft beer equipment. Keg Connection didn't have a homebrew supply store.
It was a long time. We opened the store after we moved here. I want to say it was, you're right. Maybe it was 7 years ago.
Yeah, I think so. And I've been with you going on 14 years. So I think the first, half of it was only draft equipment. And I messed up a ton of those orders in the beginning. I apologize to anybody who ordered from Keg Connection from May of 2008 through July of 2008. That was my bad, guys. But we getting back to our roots there, and also too focusing on CM Becker needs some loving too. So we are very happy with the direction that we're going, and it's a positive thing. But anyway, so that, like Todd said, to wrap this part up, Trub Club overall is still a thing. The podcast is not going anywhere. We're doing weekly shows. We're not just going to talk about draft equipment now, even though when James is gone, that's the kind of questions I usually take because that's Todd and I's expertise. And then,
come on, you and I can brew anything.
I know, but I don't feel confident.
You always put yourself down. You're getting to be a world-class brewer over here, man.
World-class. Well, I did make up my own regulatory body, the Brewers of American Association for American Brewers, and I gave myself gold star. So I am accredited. Good. Yeah, award
You're
winner.
Accredited now.
But anyway,
let's. I think we should answer some questions, huh?
Yes. So, with all that out of the way, I do have before questions. It's time for listener feedback. What's so funny about this is Zach left us feedback, a friend of ours, Zach, from Florida, but he left a voicemail. This was after we had said, like, hey, please leave a voicemail and always make sure you give me your name so I can know who to shout out to. And he didn't leave his name, and he immediately texted me right after. He goes, hey, you told me I know how you said on the show I'm supposed to leave a name. I just left this long voicemail and I didn't leave my name. So thank you for messaging me and clearing that up. This is from our buddy Zach down in Florida.
I just want to leave some feedback on your episode about wort chillers. Down in southern Florida, we get pretty hot tap water. And so what has worked for me is to run the copper wort chiller right from the hose until I get about 120 or so. And thankfully, I have pretty unrestricted access to ice. So I get about a cooler's worth of ice, and I have a recirculating pond pump that I hook up to the wort chiller, and I run the water through there once I have about 120 degrees, and it recirculates back into the cooler of ice water. That way I can kind of cut down on some of the water that I use, and works great. I've been able to go from boiling to pitching temps in about 20 minutes. So
wow.
I like the double chiller idea. Somehow I was able to get a hold of 3 chillers, so I'm trying to figure out what to do with all 3 of them with my setup. So if you have any ideas, let me know. Love the show. Thanks for everything you guys do.
Thank you, Zach, for submitting that 3 chillers. Let's tackle that first. What would you do with the 3rd chiller? Another bucket of ice and
yeah,
right?
Yeah, you could
stick both of them in the kettle if you have a huge kettle like we do.
Yeah, if you've got room to do it, but if you don't, you could do one to chill the water, one to cool down the wort, and another one as a secondary cool down. You could have it just coming out cold.
No kidding. Well, that 20 minutes is pretty impressive considering the geographic location. Him being, I did that extract batch of Kolsch, and we forgot how quick you can get stuff down when you can do, like, first off, we made up volume during the cool down part. So, very, very, very cold water, adding it to get it up to volume. And then an ice bath, and my pop and I had it down in, 33 minutes or something. It was unfathomably fast for us, considering it's still, until today, it's been pretty warm in Texas in October. We had such a pleasant summer, and then October was like, no fall, but it's finally starting to feel like fall. But that was, three chillers, I guess, like you said, you could do ice bath, wort in immersion in the wort, and then another one, and then that pump just keep circulating the coldness all around. That's a good idea.
I've never thought about using a pump. That would save a lot of water as well. You wouldn't have wasted water.
Absolutely. We here at Homebrew Happy Hour don't want to waste. We are waste free organization. Anyways, Zach, thank you so much for submitting that listener feedback. I've got 4 questions for us for this week's episode, starting with the first one from our buddy Martin, who used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Martin wrote, "Will I have contamination problems if I let a primary fermenter sit for a week after activity is finished? Like an idiot, I brewed and started fermentation 5 days before having to leave for a trip. I'm leaving tomorrow and there's still activity happening, so I don't want to throw this in my cold crash chamber yet. It will be another 6 days before I am back. How would you handle this? Awesome podcast. Prost, Martin, or Martine, or Martin. I don't know. Everyone always tells me how I mispronounce everything else under the sun. Martin, thank you for submitting the question. Y'all use a setup with glycol and all that, and y'all are pretty stress-free, set and forget. Let's assume he's talking about a bucket. And
but with what he's talking about, even with glycol, you could run into the same situation. Because what he's saying is he doesn't want to cool it. He doesn't want to cool it down and stop the fermentation, and there won't be anybody else there to cool it down when he thinks he's going to hit gravity.
No, you're right. Good point.
I think I wouldn't worry about it.
Just let it go
for 6 more days.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Yeah,
let it sit.
It may get a little drier, and if it's too dry for you, I can give you my address, and we can take care of that.
Well, and you took the words out of me, because I was going to segue it to that would be the only repercussion, right? Is that it would get potentially drier sitting in primary temperatures for longer than activity. Or did that make sense?
Possibly. I mean, in most cases you're going to get what you get based on what the sugars are and what the yeast pitch is and all that.
I would say the vast majority of times I have brewed in my life, I haven't actually. I hate to admit this on tape here, but I have never actually. I guess tape is. It's been a while since
I was laughing.
Tape, right? Yeah, I saw you laughing. I have very rarely actually checked the gravity before I decided I was done, because I know if I don't see any activity for a couple of days, I know I'm done. And unless I'm really, really worried about where I want to hit that final gravity, like I want to stop it at 14 because I want it to have this amount of sweetness to it, then I don't typically worry about it a whole lot.
I'm assuming this is an ale, and James, I'm going to ask about diacetyl rest. We kind of had questions about these over the past few weeks about it. If it's an ale, obviously diacetyl rest isn't a common thing. If it was a lager and leaving it longer than activities finished, would that pose an issue because you would miss out on the time frame for a diacetyl rest?
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, you miss the window. That you've got to have sugars for the diacetyl to be consumed by the yeast. So that'd be the only time where that would be an issue.
Okay.
But with the ale, you're not.
You try to stop it, or you try to bring it up to the diacetyl rest. I think you told me the other day at 20, right?
Yeah, 10-20 is usually a good spot for me, or what I think, to hit the diacetyl. Go to room temp and let it finish out at room temperature.
I'm terrible about saying that, like 20 or 10. What I always mean, of course, is 1.020, right?
Oh, yeah, and everybody knows that. Yeah.
That you say that in the early days of us talking, someone did write me like, "Yeah, y'all talking this vernacular that is not common. It's if you're referring to the 1.0, like yes, sir. 1010 is 1.010. That's what we mean when we say 1010. But yeah, I learned it from y'all, who learned it from somebody, and I think everyone says it. Quit writing.
Yeah, Todd's the only one that's been able to get his finished down at like 06.
Oh, I know.
That's crazy. He's the man.
I'm just that good. What can I say? I mean, I have no idea how I do it either. I don't know what to tell you.
A little Imperial Yeast
it just
logo.
goes down there. Yeah, it's the Imperial
right
Yeast is who owes credit for it, not me. Yeah.
Absolutely. So
impressive.
Martin's question, I think it can be one of those we chalk up to like relax and don't worry.
Yep.
When you get back, you can handle either if you're secondarying or if you're going to put that vessel into your cold crash chamber, like you mentioned in the question. You can handle that when you get back. It shouldn't cause any issues for you to leave it at your primary fermentation temps while you're gone.
And also, you don't want to have to buy a new hydrometer every time you brew a batch of beer. And I mean, it gets expensive, because for me at least, since I break one every time I use one. So,
yeah. Oh, I thought you were calling me out because I sent y'all that photo. I broke my first hydrometer in my life last weekend.
Allegedly first.
It was the first. It was Friday broke, or no, pardon me, Sunday. And the test tube. Todd, you've never even broken a test tube. I have the record, don't I?
Yep. Yeah, you got the new record. You took it from me.
James, have you ever broken a test tube? For that, I don't think you have. You even broken a hydrometer? We don't pick on you enough.
Not that I can recall. I probably have, but I just don't. I've got the same one in here, but I'm real careful about putting the foam collar on it and putting it back in. But I'm sure I broke one.
I backed into it. We were moving the kettle, and then my butt is big, I guess, and I hit the thing that the hydrometer was on with the Kolsch in it, and then just.
I would tell you how I've broken all of mine, but we don't have time for that.
We don't. That'll be a whole Trub Club special edition behind the scenes episode. 30-minute Q&A, but the only Q is tell us every time you broke a hydrometer. Yeah. Anyway, Martin, thank you so much for submitting the question. This is a great time to remind you, if and when we take your question on a future episode, we do give you a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com. The still operating, not going anywhere, kegconnection.com. Moving on to question number 2 was a text message from our buddy JR at the hotline 325-305-6107. And he wrote short and sweet, if you had to pick one lager yeast and one ale yeast to use for the rest of your life, what strains are you choosing? I'm going to say, for me, this may seem obvious, I could brew Kolsch the rest of my life. Dieter from Imperial would be my one and only, because I know flagship is the easy answer for ale because it's so versatile. You could brew a ton of different stuff. I could probably make a decent Kolsch with flagship, but no, I'm a purist. I just want to the dream is to just brew Kolsch, or I guess if I could brew a good alt, I'd say Kaiser, but I could probably make Dieter work. I don't know. But anyway, I don't even have a favorite lager yeast because I don't brew lagers enough. But I want to kick this to James first because you have the most experience, not just Imperial's yeast, but with different strains. And you're brewing lagers all the time. You're doing ales. So
yeah,
what would you do? Well, first, let's start off with, for both of them, what would you pick on the liquid side, or would you pick a dry one, or what are your choices?
On dry, always SA05. That should be in every homebrewer's freezer just for backup. But as far as liquid, That's easy on ale. Definitely, I'd do Dieter.
Oh,
definitely. The reason why is you can use Dieter for Coles. You can probably use it for an alt beer. They have an alt beer strain, but you can also, it's real light. It doesn't produce a lot of ester. So I like it. It's a very versatile yeast. If you want something on the ale side that I like is something that doesn't produce a lot of off flavor or other flavors than what the malt and the hops are doing, I like that.
And I'm going to guess, for you real quick. You tell me if I'm wrong. On the lager one, it's going to be Harvest, right?
All day long. Yep. All day long. Yep.
What is it about Harvest? Tell the people. Let's pretend like there's a bunch of people who are brand new and don't know you. What is it about the lager yeast Harvest from Imperial that makes you choose it to be your favorite most of the time?
It's good. We can use it for American style Pilsners. We can use it for German style Pils, and it's just really good. It produces good. It's not real powdery, so you don't have to worry about filtering it. It finishes real well. It's highly flocculent. It's just a really good yeast, all around yeast.
And you perpetuate, or is that the right word? Not perpetuate. You propagate it. You. That is one that you confidently will repitch on. Batch after batch after propagation. Yep. There we go. Perpetuate.
Yep. So, James, I'm sorry, I'm going to go completely off this question for a second here. You talked about doing a Coles, right?
Oh, you talked about it.
I need to keg mine. God, we could throw.
Exactly. We've got yeast already.
Yeah. Because I've got to keg mine. I could, Josh, you and I could keg it tonight. What do you want me to pull the yeast? You know what? And bring it to you, or how do you want to do that? You know, it'd be even better in your situation is to brew the Coles there. Oh yeah, and you know what? I have to be there. I have to be at a bank meeting at 10 though. So
yeah,
we'll talk about it after the podcast.
This guy right here, he could get everything going and ready.
That's true.
He knows how to use the system. You could pitch right on top of that sucker.
I like this idea.
And you're rocking and rolling. That's what I would do.
Okay,
because then you don't touch it. You don't risk contaminating that yeast by pulling it out, transporting it over here. You know, there's a lot of benefits to just doing it there.
That is true.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Let's do that. Let's talk after the podcast and make a plan.
Okay. I like this.
Definitely.
I like where this is going. This is my dreams come true. I'm not the brewing part. And I forgot that I was in the Brady Bunch view when you said he knows how to use the system. I was like, do I? I'm going to scorch my hand again. Look at the gnarly.
Yeah, just make sure the valves are closed before you remove a hose.
And if you remove a hose and there's boiling water going over your hand, don't keep it there. It's okay. We're going to forgive you if you move your hand.
I think when we were telling my dad the story, my dad just like, I lived with this idiot's son for a long time. I understand. He didn't look surprised at all. Like, what, son, why didn't you move your hand? He probably knew, like, yeah, that guy's an idiot. I just didn't feel it. I didn't feel it. That's probably bigger issues than a scalding hand.
That you can't feel boiling water in your hand. All I would say on the yeast question is, I do agree. The 05 is a yeast everybody should have. I've used it a lot over the years. It's a great yeast. Of course, I love the Imperial yeast that we use, the Dieter. But that's the problem, is that you guys love to brew a few styles, and you'll really like that style range. But I like to brew all kinds of things. So I can't limit myself to 2 yeast. I refuse.
But this is like one of those. Someone has a gun and they're saying pick a yeast. So you just pick an ale yeast and pick a lager yeast. You can do this. That's a cop out. You
know what? I actually have the yeast strains pulled up. They've got a new Kolsch yeast called Gustav, and it says straight out of Cologne. I've never heard of this before. Have y'all?
No, and also is it? Lilleman has a Kolsch dry yeast now.
They do, yeah.
We maybe for Trub Club we should do a Kolsch again and use that Gustav. I haven't heard it. I didn't even see it.
It says it's very, very clean with a slight peach and white wine aromatics. The strain is crisp and bright. It will float to the top of the wort during fermentation. It's low flucking and will take a while to clarify. So it's going to be a little powdery. Wow. It's not available. It's not part of the core lineup, but you would need to email or call to find out lead time.
Yeah. I've got inside connections. Actually, I always try to suck up to Casey because I'm like, oh, I made it. I'll say a joke and she'll just kind of humor me like, haha. And I'm like, oh crap. It's like everyone else I deal with. But Gustav, no, I didn't even see the press release. I know I've been seeing them pushing Bubbles a lot lately, which is their one for like hard seltzers or cider, and actually Bubbles might be the gluten-free one too. I believe. Or maybe, are they all gluten-free? Now someone's going to correct me like, hey, idiot, every yeast strain is gluten-free. But anyway, moving on, JR, thank you so much for submitting the question. Again, we encourage you when you submit it through our hotline. Todd wants to hear your voice. Todd, and he always tells me to mention that every episode. Oh, and someone else, I forgot at the top to say it, and I'm not going to edit this. If you're watching on YouTube, smash that like button, hit subscribe.
Smash! Don't forget to say smash. Jeez.
Everyone always gives me crap. They're like, every other YouTube video, that's how they get subscribers. At the beginning, they tell you subscribe and like and this and that, and they're like, you don't ever say it. And I'm like, I'm sorry, so much pressure. But yeah, if you're this far in the YouTube video, you probably already subscribed because we would have lost you a while ago. Anyways, we've got a couple more questions for you. The third question came from our buddy Rick, who used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Rick wrote, "Hi Josh, I started kegging and finally have my kegerator set up. To my surprise, a week or so after tapping my first keg, I noticed an abundance of fruit flies around my faucet. What do you do to prevent fruit flies, and will the fruit flies that probably went up my faucet have any effect on my beer? So far, it still tastes good, but it's not the most welcoming sight for visitors to see fruit flies around my kegerator. Thanks for everything you and Todd and James do for us." Rick, that is a great question. I'm not a fan of fruit flies. I hate them. They're gross. James is holding it up. It's trying to green screen it out. He's got we use what's in his left hand, the faucet brush, and then on the other hand is just a plug. That's literally, and I'll link them in the show notes because everybody should have these on their faucets. We use the plugs, the brush, because it gives me that sense of like, oh, I'm also bringing any.
Well, you can clean it too, especially if you have a squirt bottle. We have a squirt bottle of sanitizer. You can squirt inside the nozzle and then clean it and stick this in there, or just push this around the nozzle itself. This seems to work better with most faucets because it's bending enough to fit in most nozzle, the inside part of the nozzle.
Todd, every now and then in the barn, I'll see them. Very rarely. It's usually when if you leave stuff sitting around for a while, they'll congregate. First off, these fruit flies, for me, sometimes it feels like, man, where the hell are they manifesting from? Like, where do they? We don't have to go into the biology of fruit fly, mommy and daddy. Like we don't have to do all that. But like when they're there,
it's very hard to see, though.
Yeah,
fruit fly copulation is very difficult to see. You have to have a magnifying glass. Anyway, what were we talking about?
I can't wait till the negative 1-star review. We're like, and he wouldn't stop laughing at fruit fly copulation. What do you do when you have the fruit flies there? Because honestly, sometimes
I just clean.
Right, I mean, that's the only way to get rid of them, isn't it?
Yeah, I just clean, and I actually don't even put anything on my faucets. I don't. It's so weird. I'll have them they'll come in and I'll have them like crazy, and then I won't see a single one for 3 months, and I don't know what I'm doing different. I mean, every once in a while they just come in. And almost always it's because the drip tray isn't clean, because they love that stuff hanging down in the drip tray. So I try to keep it all clean. If I start getting them, I clean everything up. I clean my beer lines regularly anyway. So I just try to keep everything clean. Like, if you flush all your beer lines with water to get everything out of the faucet, and you clean your drip tray and you let it sit for a few days, their life cycle seems to be pretty short because you don't see them anymore.
On the part about any fruit flies that end up in your beer, well, first off, I'll say if it's been a couple days since your last pour, I always end up doing a throwaway pour, and not a full pour, like a second's worth, right? To get it, like the lines running and going. And if there was any kind of stale beer, 2 days is probably not necessary, but you know what I mean? That first pour of just like, okay, it's not to be the best
flush pour.
Just a flush pour. And I'd imagine if any fruit flies work their way into the faucet, that flush pour is going to be what gets them out. But if they got all the way into your, let's say they went all the way down the line, they managed to get into your beer, it's just going to add some protein. I don't believe it's that right? Or am I telling people wrong? Or is that fruit fly carrying some contaminant now? Oh, my beer has diacetyl because of the fruit fly. Oh, no, it's not going to do any of that, right? Or am I wrong? Oh no, nobody knows. Oh no.
I don't. Flies are nasty.
I couldn't help myself. I had to Google it, and there's a great article on Harvard Medical School called "The Love Lives of Fruit Flies." I think you should all read. It's excellent. I just read half of it while you were talking about whatever you were talking about there.
If fruit flies ended up in your beer, it's just protein. That was my claim.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah, they are gross. I agree with you, James. But hey. I mean, I'd rather a tiny little fruit fly gnat than an actual house fly, end up in my beer. The gnat thing, I can look past. They're itty bitty, tiny little.
Depends on how many beers you've had.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what? You're right.
I mean, after 3 beers, they don't bother you at all.
Absolutely. You're right. Yeah, and I like Rick is saying, it still tastes good, but yeah, and it can't be a visual thing. You're right, man. It's like the reason we like clear beer, even though it doesn't necessarily affect the taste, is the presentation. And so, Rick, I understand.
Well, not only that, but you can also see the fruit flies in it.
Yeah, exactly.
I understand Rick's concern because you have people over and you want them to go pour their own beer and enjoy the process. No, you're right. It can be embarrassing because it implies dirtiness almost, right? Like, what are all these? But I say that when I see fruit flies, I just think, oh, someone else has kids and they left a banana behind their bed or something for a week, or an orange peel or something, maybe I'd give more grace because my kids are filthy heathens. But we get fruit flies from my dad's system every now and then. And it's kind of like what you said, Todd. It seems random. It doesn't seem like, oh, we do this and they don't show up. But when we don't do this, they do show up. No, it's like, they show up whenever they want. And, you clean when you can. Now, I'm going to go out on a ledge or out on a limb and say, Todd, when they really show up, it's because you didn't do your 2-week regimen of cleaning your lines and faucets. Is that accurate, or does that not seem to have any bearing?
No, not really, because that's all internal. It's the reason they show up is you're not cleaning your drip tray or not cleaning something that has standing beer in it, which could include a little bit of beer in your nozzle. But I think the reason they're in your nozzle is that they showed up for the party because they got the invitation from the drip tray, and they're just hanging out in the nozzle a little bit because it's good up there. So, I can't tell you how many times when I've had fruit flies, I've just shoot the beer out a little bit, dump it out because there's fruit flies in it, and then there's not any more after that,
right?
Because they can't get into the system, past your nozzle,
right? So. So the takeaway from this question, Rick, I'll link to them: a faucet plug or a faucet plug brush, and you can get them at ketconnection.com, or I think we list them on Amazon too. And then the third part is clean your drip tray, friends. Everyone listening, you have a drip tray, it's probably dirty. Don't be dirty drip tray. Clean them. If you keep them clean. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think you should link to this article too. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, email
the subtitle is "The Neurobiology of Fruit Fly Courtship Helps Eliminate Human Disorders of Motivation." Only out of Harvard, my friends.
Yeah, somebody paid a lot of money.
I'm surprised that's not federally funded research.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
I'm going to write up a grant for a study. Yeah, fruit fly copulation. It'll be my life's work. Anyways, Rick, thank you so much for submitting your question. We've got one final question for y'all this week. Came from our buddy Jerry P., who also used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Jerry wrote, besides the mess it mates, what is the issue if beer mates its way into my airlock? A post on Reddit, since I know Joshua loves Reddit, says that I need to immediately clean and replace the liquid in my airlock. If I see active fermentation going on, is this still the case? It didn't blow all the way out, but the airlock is now full of stout and not the sanitizer it started with. For the record, I'm only going to use blow-off tubes from now on. Seems like less stress. LOL. Jerry, yes, blow-off tubes are less stress. I took this question, even though it was like a month or two old, because I just had this happen with my Kolsch. I first day it started bubbling. We brewed on a Sunday, and I took it home and I turned my office into a fermentation chamber. I wore a sweater this whole week because I forgot how cold 65 is, and I wore a beanie too. I'm very fragile. But the first full Monday, it was bubbling away. I was like, this is fantastic. Great activity, no problem. And then I wake up Tuesday morning and my airlock is full of beer, and it thankfully didn't blow out, but it cleaned the surrounding area. I put it in a trash bag anyway, so it didn't make a huge mess in the office. But I was worried because I didn't think I had sanitizer at my house, and I was like, oh my gosh, Dad, I'm gonna have to come over or something and get sanitizer because I'm gonna have to replace this. And then I thought, well, there's still activity going. I'm not gonna worry about it. And then yesterday, which was Wednesday, I found some sanitizer in the back corner of my garage. Mixed it up, cleaned it up, and replaced it because activity was done, and I felt comfortable doing all that. And I feel like that was, we do the sanitizer in there, so if any kind of suckback occurs, it'll be sanitary, right? So, starting off with his question, James, if there's fermentation happening and air's going out, technically suckback's not going to happen, so it's not an issue to leave it in, to leave it all, your airlock full of beer if fermentation's still going on, right? Or am I wrong and he might get contamination?
I don't know. I just don't like the sight of an airlock full of wort. It just bugs the crap out of me. I keep thinking, well, what if some of that wort gets contaminated and then for some reason drips back down into the fermenter and spoils the whole batch? Probably wouldn't happen. But to me, I just dump it and replace it with a sanitized airlock.
Right.
That's just what I do.
Yeah, well, better to be safe than sorry is your approach, right? Now, Todd, you are the king of not caring about stuff. So, what about you? Would you say, I know you almost always use blow off tubes, but actually, when you use buckets, you use airlocks. What do you?
Yeah, I use blow off tubes usually now, but the last time I used blow off tubes, I must not have been getting a good seal where I put the blow off tube, so I never saw it bubble, which kind of bothered me. So I don't know. I go back and forth. It doesn't. Some stuff in the fermenter. If I'm using the bubblers, I end up cleaning them out a lot, not necessarily because of the reason he's asking, but I've found if I'm getting a bunch of beer in there, what happens is it clogs it up, and it won't come out anymore, and you build up pressure, and you can blow your lid off if you're not careful.
And then it'd be a big mess.
Yeah, and I have I've had batches. Well, that's the reason I started using blow off tubes more, particularly when I did a Hefeweizen for my wife last time. Those are everybody that's brewed those. It's so active, and I'd used bubblers, and I had to clean them out like 5 times because they were actually pressuring up the unit. So that's why I use blow off tubes. The actual having a little something in there. I started doing a little real weak sanitizer mix in them now, but I don't know. I just do it because y'all do it. So
yeah,
it's necessary.
Years I just put water in it. Didn't know any better. Guys, when I first started brewing. I just regular water, tap water.
Stop, because my email. All right, hold on. We have it set up. jcarlson@homebrewhappyhour.com. Email him why water is wrong.
I did that a long time ago. But now I use sanitizer exclusively. I have for years. But when I didn't know any better, I just put tap water in it.
Did you ever have issues?
Didn't have any issues. I really didn't.
And what do you use, Todd?
I use cat urine. Yeah, that's
tburns@catconnection.com. That is his email. Please stop. The listener, actually, if you're going to do listener feedback on the things we say, do it to the hotline at 325-305-6107. So Todd can hear you go, really, Todd? Cat piss?
Hey, I know people that use vodka in the airlock.
Funny you say that. My dad, when I told him I didn't have sanitizer, which is kind of funny, he assumed I would have vodka. Not that there's wrong with having vodka. It's just I hardly have liquor at my house. I do have whiskey at my house, and that wouldn't work. But he
would.
whiskey would work. I wouldn't want
alcohol. Yeah.
Okay. Is it enough? Okay. I thought
it's not. I
thought because vodka was a neutral spirit, or I forgot what it's called.
Bubblers don't. I mean, I wouldn't want to suck sanitizer into my brew either. I mean, it's not, you're not gonna. You shouldn't be sucking anything back into your brew. The only time you would have a problem with that is actually more common with if you're doing a tube, because sometimes it can start to suck back up. But a three-piece system really shouldn't suck anything back the way it works.
Yeah, that is what
I just run into that when I cold crash a lager. It when that liquid goes cold, it shrinks and it'll draw it in.
And you got to be careful when you're using tubes. It'll pull it all the way up through the tube back into the beer.
And James, you touched on how I wanted to wrap up Jerry's question. Like for me, I've already switched it out. I made that little batch. I found the thing of sanitizer and replaced it, cleaned it around there, sanitized it again, and put sanitizer in there. Jerry, one of the things that you do have to worry about if you left it how it is now, and you go to cold crash, that's when suckback usually occurs. And and that could pose an issue. Like James said, it's not maybe necessarily likely. And again, we'll get emails about this. That's the problem. We have more than just like my family listening now. We have people, we have smart people who know better than I do, but you don't want, I mean,
I had a bubbler here. I think I have one in the next room. I should get one real quick.
Go for it. I'll small.
Yeah, there's some in that tub in the brew room.
Yeah. That was the last question, but no, I can, this almost ties in with JR's question at the top, which is kind of funny. They're both J's or not JR. That was the second question. Martin, contamination that occurs post boil, like during the fermentation, exposure to air or oxygen, it would be one where, like James was saying, if you don't clean it out sooner than later, you're risking that wort that might go back in there to getting contaminated from its exposure through those holes to oxygen. And then you're wondering why does this beer taste like cardboard? It could happen. Now, is it likely? I don't know. I really don't know. I was going to say probably not, but I really don't know. There's Todd with the standard 3-piece bubbler.
I tried it. I got it to the line.
So
I'm blowing in.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm going to suck in. Interesting. No liquid, but I'd get some bubbles.
Really?
So maybe when you pull back in, it's bringing some air back in if you get a big vacuum.
We're very scientific here at homebrewhappyhour.com.
Huh.
We are. It's just, and I want y'all to know he used sanitizer.
I did. Yeah. I wanted it to be sanitized. If I was going to drink it, I wanted it to be sanitary. So.
That's what what you were saying. I know we don't want sanitizer going back in. It would be at such a level it wouldn't matter. But I always used to get a kick out of post on homebrewtalk.com, like especially in the heyday when there was tens of thousands of us on at any given hour, and someone would be like, y'all think I should pour this beer into this foam? It's like my whole, that's why 5 Star did the whole "Don't fear the foam," because people were like, are you sure? They're like, oh yeah, just pour it on top. And like when but I feel like I'm drinking the foam. No, don't feel like it's a perception thing, right, guys? It's just a perception thing.
Well, anything that can affect the way the beer is flavored or the flavor of the beer is a big concern. First time I bought some of that and used it, I thought, ooh, I switched back to iodophor.
Right.
Or iodophor, however you say it.
That's one of the reasons my pop likes the BTF iodophor from National Chemicals, because it besides the staining, that does happen, odorless and the lack of foam. Like we know when it's out of the equipment, right? And same with the sand step. Sand step's very good about doing its thing and getting out of the way. And
the reason I like sand step is because of my situation. I have hard water, and it works really well in hard water. And we know that the other doesn't work in high waters and hard water.
Right.
I'm not sure about high water, but hard water it doesn't work in.
Yeah, man. No, anyway, no, I got to cut that out.
Wow, I didn't know. That's not where I was going at all with that.
What else would you call high water? I don't understand what else would be high.
Well, like water that's high up,
like Denver,
a river
like
rises
Rocky
and you have high water.
Oh, okay, man.
Or high waters.
Yeah,
high waters like the pants I'm wearing right now, or low waters because I keep having to pull my pants leg up. But yeah,
God, you gross me out. Anyways, I think we covered most of your question, Jerry. Thanks for mentioning me about Reddit. It's not that I don't like Reddit. I don't think Reddit likes me, Jerry. But yeah, no, I think I'm with James. One of the reasons I did not clean out the airlock at the very beginning is because I didn't think I had sanitizer, and I was slaving away for the man on a project, the man being right over there on the other side of me, and having to get stuff done. So I didn't want to drive to my pop in Manchac, which is now like a 45-minute drive from me, to get the sanitizer. And there was still activity going, so I was like, I'll be fine. Air's coming out. But when I found that sanitizer, immediately made some and switched out, just because you want to be sanitary and you don't want to risk contamination, if at all possible, at any point of your post boil process, right? Like nothing will be
just peace of mind.
Peace of mind. And that's what it all boils down to. Like, last week, I forgot what we were talking about we were talking about the cooling down part. And the question was like, how long is too long? And I was asking Chris and Olin, do y'all stress out or you just relax? And Chris was like, I stress out every time. And I think contamination is something that if you're going to stress out about something, that might be the part you want to stress out, because nothing will ruin a smooth brew day. Like, I let the cool down go too long, or I splashed my beer when I was transferring it, so that's why you hear brewers like Chris and a lot of other brewers online like, I don't secondary because of the potential to contaminate. I do everything in one vessel for fermentation because of this and that. And people who talk like that are obviously people who've had contamination and they never want it again. And we've had that too, right? We're not immune to issues, but we're trying to implement things to prevent that. And one easy way, when you have beer or wort to make its way into your airlock, would be to replace it with sanitizer, or clean it out, replace the liquid, and put it back on there. So,
yep.
Guys,
and then I have to say that was a good podcast, because I just got back from the doctor in pain. I was in my recliner. I saw it on the YouTube right there on the recommended. I popped it up, and that was a really good podcast. I enjoyed it.
They're good guys. Like I said, I don't even think they watch this show, but they I'm not sucking up to them, but like Todd said at the top, we did kind of feel like, we need to say something, because some people have a misconception about More Beer, like they're this faceless corporation. We've known Olin and Chris for a while, and they're more of the face. Olin's brother is I think he comes to shows. I just don't hardly ever see him. It's always Olin's always walking around and coming by the booths and stuff, and they've always been terribly good to us. Our industry, like we've said before, is 99.5% incredible, and the 0.5% is Todd. But besides that, I'm sorry. No, but More Beer, we love them. They're good people. And I was happy that they came on the show, regardless of all the acquisition stuff. When Todd was telling me we should have them on the show, I was like, they're not going to do it. They don't do podcasts. And they did. So
I was really surprised. I did not know that was going to be, they were going to be on the podcast.
They were a lot of fun too. Some of the stuff they talked about was very interesting. The brewing at the highest and lowest altitude and everything else. But again, we are very, very appreciative too of our customers, and we are going to be expanding our draft beer lineup and making some changes there that I think will serve people even better. That's always been our specialty, but it's even going to get better now. So we're looking forward to working with people in the future.
Absolutely. Yep. But if you still have sour feelings about this, email tburns@kegconnection.com.
Absolutely.
Let them know how you feel, because my phone blew up with mainly questions. It was like, I told you, Todd, that I was driving home that Friday after we did the episode, and I was like, out of the 120 messages so far, only 5 of them have been negative. That's a pretty good, that's like our reviews. That's like the ratio of reviews too, where it's like, if 5% or a little bit more than, or a little bit less, than 5% don't like me, I'm doing pretty good. Like,
oh, listen, I think if you have less than 5%, your show's probably getting a little boring, right?
Absolutely. And like, if I go into a room and there's 10 people, one person's going to hate me. That's how it's been my whole life. I get that. I understand. Yeah. So we're okay with that. But anyways, I'm digressing. Thank you everybody for submitting the questions. Guys, that's all I have for this week's episode. I appreciate y'all's time. I'll let y'all get back to the busy life y'all are doing. But let's talk after this. After I'm done editing it, I'll walk over to your office and talk about
brewing tomorrow at my house.
I like it. We'll talk soon, guys.
Too.
Thank y'all so much. I'll talk to y'all later.
Right. Take care.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you would like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page. Or now you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. Thank you to our show sponsor, Imperial Yeast. Get a free pack of Imperial Yeast with your monthly recipe kits when you join our Trub Club. Go to homebrewhappyhour.com/club to learn more. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thank you for listening.